Hello everybody, Kelly Rice here, but I write under my pen name KM Rice. And today I'm going to be answering a question from Bryony Wills. Sorry, I wanted to say Willis, but then I realized that was wrong. And Bryony asks about cosplaying. So, Bryony says, what is the psychology behind cosplaying? You're a cosplayer yourself, so why do you do it? Why do you think it took so long to be accepted by the mainstream? Is it still frowned upon by some for the right reasons? Do cosplayers count as wildlings? I'll answer that part first, because that's the easy part. The answer's a big fat yes. Why? Because it's engaging your imagination and it's using creativity. And that's kind of the only prerequisites or requisites for being a wildling, to me. And that's why readers count as wildlings, because they're engaging their imaginations, even if they're not putting forth... And that's using creativity, actually. Your imagination is in engaging with creativity. So, yes, I do believe that cosplayers are wildlings, and you're all welcome to my wildling horde. So, cosplaying. I want to start off by differentiating a little bit between the cosplayers who make their own costumes and the cosplayers who buy them. Because, well, maybe I shouldn't even make that distinction. I was going to say that there's probably a slightly different psychology, but now that I think about my friends, I think that that's not true. Alright, so before I put my foot in my mouth, which I don't think I can... It's barefoot, yeah. I'm a hobbit, I don't usually wear shoes. I could have put it in my mouth if I tried harder, but it's barefoot and I was walking in the chicken coop earlier and there's poop there and it wouldn't have... In a week I might have been dead, let's just put it that way. So I didn't want to literally put my foot in my mouth. But anyway, cosplaying. I have cosplayed before. My cosplaying history begins when I was a little toddler and my mom made me a dragon costume for Halloween. And Halloween was always one of my favoriteest holidays because I could dress up in costumes. I loved being in costumes. I think kindergarten may have been Bambi, but then shortly after that I was also Princess Buttercup from The Princess Bride because I was obsessed with that movie and watched it all the time. It's still an amazing film. So those were some of my early costumes that I can remember. But I'm old enough that I remember a time before the word cosplay was even in existence. It was just people dressing in costumes. And I've probably mentioned before I was a nanny and I've done a ton of babysitting in my time. All of my teenage and early 20s years were, that was my main work, was taking care of other people's kids and then, yeah, being a nanny. And at one point I just kind of when I finished school I was like, dude, I've got to back off of this because I'm getting burned out, and if there's any chance I'm going to have children of my own, I can't go into it being like, I'm so sick of diapers and that! So, taking a break from that. But I still love kids. Kids, they tend to love me. What can I say? That's why I made a lot of, good money. Well, not a lot of good money, but I made money as a babysitter because the kids always begged for me to come back because I was that one who was like, shh, there's the headlights! Get in your bed! Pretend you've been asleep for hours and I'm just gonna sit out here knitting and look calm! So the kids loved me. Corruptive influence that I am, and now it's really trippy because I'm old and the kids are like driving and one of the little girl I used to nanny for is in college and it just makes me feel ancient. So in a way I feel like I've already kind of from afar watched children grow. That's a huge tangent. My books are my babies right now. So... what even was the question? Oh yeah, so as a babysitter and as a nanny, I have been engaged with the younger portion of the population for a long time. So I remember one of the little girls I used to babysit when she was kind of a preteen talking about cosplay. And cosplay at that time meant that you dressed as a character and also behaved as that character. So that's where the play part came into play. Stumbled into that one. But, so, cosplay back then, and I think to this day, in certain groups, means that you're not only wearing the costume of the character, but you're bringing that character to life by being that character. So I remember learning about that and being like, dang, that's cool. I might have been that hardcore when I was 14, but I couldn't really see myself doing it then. As a matter of fact, Bryony said that I am a cosplayer. I have been labeled that by other people, but I'm kind of uncomfortable with being called that because, and it's all on a spectrum, but like, I know people who have gone so far as to make casts and prosthetics, like these beautiful women who turn themselves into Thorin, a male dwarf, and look like him. And they do that because they have such a love for the creativity behind creating these costumes that they learn the skills. They buy the materials. They're self-taught. And they make prosthetics for their faces. They make fake armor. They make all kinds of incredible, intricate costumes. And most of them don't pretend to really be the character all the time, but they'll certainly strike a pose or whatnot for a photo. So I look at that, and then I look at what I've done in the past, which, comparatively, is really, really bad. I'm not good at sewing. I've tried to sew before. I mean, I can sew by hand. Okay. I can knit. You know, you've seen my scarves for sale on my Etsy. I made those. But, I don't know. I did cross-stitch a little as a kid. I've just never... It's me and sewing machines. Like, I took a quilting class in 4-H once, and the entire class was me being like, I broke my machine again. And then the teacher being like, oh, again? Really, Kelly? How'd you do it this time? You realize that's not a gas pedal, don't you? And, I don't know, it's just me and needles and thread. We don't seem to get along well. So, I'm going to, some of you probably do not care about my other online presence, but I need to make a reference to it. Happy Hobbit. On Happy Hobbit, my sister and I, it's our web series. You can find us on, I don't know, just type Happy Hobbit into YouTube and you'll find us. We have nicknames there. My name's Kelly. So, when I first became a volunteer with theonering.net, which is the premier site for Tolkien fans, people started calling me Keely, because it sounds like Kelly. Well, Keely's one of the dwarven characters in The Hobbit. So my sister, by extension, became Feely, and because they're two brothers in The Hobbit. So, we're two sisters. Gender bend. Who the flip cares about gender anyway, right? So, those were our nicknames, and it got to the point that we identified with those names, and so when we finally did see the first movie, we're like, are they who stole our names? What the hell? So that was weird. But, anyway, as those nicknames stuck, and to this day we respond to them, we're like, okay, well, you know, and our series went viral, the cast got involved, the director got involved, we needed to step up our game, and so we're like, we're gonna dress like Keely and Feely, man, we're gonna do it, except that we have no skills at all, and we're lazy, so we went to the Goodwill, and we found stuff that suggested their outfits, and we cut it up, and sewed things on, and I like painted some stuff, and we kind of made these dwarven costumes. And I'm saying kind of because people were really nice to us and like, oh, yeah, you look like Keely and Feely, but at the same time, we knew that we weren't going all out. We weren't trying to look like the ones in the film. We were suggestive of the ones in the film because we are still our weird Happy Hobbit versions of them, so we were still female and obviously not dwarves. I'm 5'7", my sister's like 5'6", you know, dwarves are little, and, you know, we're both of lither builds. We don't look like dwarves, is what I'm getting at. If I could cosplay as Arwen sometime, maybe. I'll do that. But costumes are hot. Like, physically hot. But, I can't complain, dude! There's people under layers of prosthetics sweating buckets at Comic-Con! And here I am like, I don't know if I want to wear my hair down, it's hot. So anyway, that was our version of cosplaying, was modifying garments that were already made to suggest these characters. I feel like it wasn't a big success because, like, my sister's costume, she was constantly stopped and asked if she was a character from Game of Thrones. Don't watch Game of Thrones. Didn't know who it was. Later found out that she vaguely resembled the actress. Maybe that was some of the confusion. With me, I think I had to tell everyone, I'm like, Keely. And let me just say, Yeah, talking about sweating buckets. I had like 4 or 5 layers on, because I'm a dwarf, man. And I could sweat through all of those layers. I still have my costume, but I refuse to wear it. Because every time I look at it, I just see this sweaty armpit, like this intense, horrible, uncomfortable, sweaty armpit, sweaty back, boob sweat, everything sweat. And I'm like, I don't want to get it away. So I kind of consider myself a cosplay failure. At this year's con, I did put on kind of a costume. I put on a Wonder Woman dress from her universe, and it was a kid's set, but I got us the tiara and I think in like a bicep thing. I didn't have her cool these things because Wonder Woman's badass. Like, who doesn't want to be Wonder Woman? So I did that. Oh, Katniss. When you're at San Diego Comic-Con, I was Katniss from the 75th the Quarter Quell, 75th Hunger Games. And that was because I have a very close relationship with me and Katniss, because all my friends before the movies were out were reading the books and being like, oh my god, Kelly, I'm reading the Hunger Games, and is it weird that I'm imagining you as Katniss? And I had to just be like, I haven't seen you since high school, but no, that's not weird. Because I'm a brunette, practice archery, got the little sister who's obsessed with goats, may or may not trespass onto government lands, love the woods, always up in trees, all that stuff. So, in fact, my mom bought me this set of the Hunger Games books for Christmas, again, way back before the films, because she's like, Kelly, you need to read this, it's about you. So then I read it, and I'm like, yeah, I can get behind this. And the only part of the books that brought me close to tears was the very beginning when Katniss volunteered in Prim's stead, because I would totally do that for my little sister in a heartbeat. And that I could totally connect with. But, you know, it brought about some reflection, and I'm like, man, Katniss is kind of intense. Katniss is kind of mean. She's kind of tough, and if I was raised under those circumstances, maybe I would be, but I'm like, is that how people see me? I'm like the cold, austere, I'm just in this to survive type of young woman? I don't know. But, yeah. So, me and Katniss dressed up as her once. And that was cool, because what I liked about that costume, even though it was like a form-fitting unisuit, the areas of the body that they enhanced for the costumes in the film, and that they enhanced on me, I'm vaguely built like Jennifer Lawrence. That's why I think she's awesome. I mean, she's much more, she's more curvy than I am, but she also has just kind of like a taller girl's more athletic body that looks not like a Barbie. And I'm like, cool, I can do that. Like, she's got shoulders, dude. Like, usually it's these women with these dainty little shoulders. I've got, like, I've been told, like, look, this shirt doesn't even fit. My shoulder is here. This is where the seam is. This is supposed to be here, because I'm supposed to have, like, these little girly things. I don't know. I'm not trying to make fun of people who don't have big shoulders, but I've just, like, dude, I've got shoulders, man. And that's part of what makes me an okay archer. So, I cosplayed as her because in that outfit, it accentuated the shoulders, it accentuated the thighs, it accentuated these parts of the body that are strong and powerful and not just sexy. There was no accentuation here, or tiny waist, or all that bullshit. So, that's part of why I liked it, and it was really empowering to be dressed up as Katniss, because people were nonstop, like, doing the, you know, the Mockingjay salute and doing the Mockingjay whistle, and again, I was sweating buckets, but it was cool. So, that's kind of my cosplaying experience in a nutshell. But that's also why I wouldn't call myself a cosplayer, because most people who I know who cosplay actively pursue it. And I've just kind of fallen into it a few times. Like the Wonder Woman thing at this year's Comic-Con was literally like 2 days before I found the dress, and I'm like, ooh, what if I could also get this? And I ordered it at Best Buy, and we went from the mall to Best Buy, and I threw it together in like a second, and I was like, this is cool. Yeah, so, to me, like, you know, there are people for whom cosplay is a way of life. And again, I have to go back and negate what I said in the beginning, because they're not all people who make their costumes. Some of them have them made for them, and they are that still just as into it. My friend David Baxter, he doesn't make his own costumes, but he is the Hound. You know, he is Gandalf. He is Dumbledore. When he's these characters, he's Darth Vader. He's awesome. So, I think that, again, I've been going to San Diego Comic-Con, I think 7 years now. I'm not one of the old-timers, even though I think I'm an old-timer. The costuming has ratcheted up just in my time, my little window that I have to compare. But I do think that it is getting far more accepted into popular culture, and I think that that's a good thing. Why it took so long was because it was considered other, it was considered fringe, it was considered something that normal people don't do. Most forms of creativity, at one time or another, people who do not experience that themselves don't understand it, and they feel the need to shun it. They feel the need to belittle it. That's why a lot of times people are made fun of when they're outliers in society. It's kind of not cool anymore. Society's waking up to it, but that's why gay people were always the butt of jokes. Minorities, people with disabilities. And when I was a kid, even, I remember those jokes being very commonplace and nobody thought twice about them. But now, thankfully, we're more aware of the fact that sometimes making fun of people isn't cool. Sometimes that's actually just the first stage or one of the stages of abuse. That's, again, another subject. But that's why, part of why I think that it took a while for cosplay to be accepted in mainstream society. It's still not completely accepted. The other big factor, I think, is money. So, again, I'm old. I remember when The Lord of the Rings first came out, the films, and it was this cultural phenomenon, and then the Harry Potter films started coming out, and the books were taking off, and again, a cultural phenomenon. Then came along Twilight, and then came along Hunger Games, and it's all of a sudden, the people who make merchandise and who run, the entertainment industry were like, gee, there's a lot of money to be made with geeks. I don't know. How many freaking Marvel movies are there? I'm sorry, I suck as a nerd. I stood as far as me, okay, a little bit farther than me and the camera from Stan Lee this past summer at a party he had. And I didn't, he's awesome. I really admire what he's created. I'm not into Marvel though. You can leave hate in the comments if you want. I've never read a Marvel comic book. I've seen 3 Marvel movies, that's it. But I recognize it's an empire. Make no mistake about that. That's why Disney wanted it. It's an empire. And, Star Wars, that's another good example of something that no longer to me is even science fiction. That is just pop culture. So I think sometimes these intellectual properties transcend genre and they pass into what the only thing that I could compare it to is our modern mythology. It is, we can speak in shorthand about Luke Skywalker or about Iron Man. And most everyone's going to know what you're referring to. And if they don't know exactly, then they'll say, oh, from Star Wars, right? Or isn't that from one of those superhero movies? Those properties transcending that barrier and making billions of dollars has really opened the eyes of the people who produce our media. The people who produce our media not control, I don't like getting into that because that's kind of conspiracy theory territory, but they are strong influencers into what is culturally accepted and what isn't culturally accepted. And by them embracing the fact that so many people love these stories, so many people want to dress up as these characters, then that is part of what has normalized cosplay, I think. And, I love the show Lucifer. I've got a little Lucifer poster over there, it's just off screen though. And one of the things I love about that show is, I'm obviously someone who goes to cons, and they go to cons, their writers go to cons, they know who their fan base is so well that they weave in jokes. Almost every single episode, there's an Easter egg nerd joke for the people who have been at a con or the online communities. They feed their fans, they take care of them well, man. And I think that that's an exciting thing to have. It's a popular primetime procedural cop drama with a fantastical twist, and yet it has this very open relationship with its fan base, kind of in the way that The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings did with their fan base while they were being produced. And you don't often find that. There's usually like an us versus them thing, but I think those lines are getting more and more blurred as studios and productions are realizing the value of a fan, which should never be discounted. And I hope that myself as a content creator and as an author, I hope that I never discount the power of my fans. I don't know if you could hear that screaming in the background, but something exciting just happened apparently. Okay, the other part of the question was, do I think it was frowned upon for the right reasons? And the psychology behind cosplay. Those are the two parts of the big question that I didn't address. So when I think it's frowned upon, I think it's frowned upon by people who are judgmental, make assumptions about individuals that they don't even know or understand, and see it as a waste of time. You know what? Fuck you. You might go out with your fishing pole and go fishing for hours on the weekend, and you didn't catch anything, you don't have anything to show for it. Or you might go watch your football game, and like, what are you doing? That's not something productive. None of those things are productive. They're just more culturally accepted. If someone wants to spend their time being creative, making a costume, gluing on a beard and going around pretending that they're a dwarf, more power to them. Just because it's different than you, or what you like to do, does not mean that it is something that you need to frown upon. I think that this stigma comes from, again, I'm old enough to remember the running joke was, I'll bet it's some guy who's like 22 and lives in his mom's basement and plays Dungeons and Dragons. And like, that was the insult. Now everyone's like, dude, I'm 32 and I can't afford to live anywhere other than with my parents. Thanks for ruining the economy. Again, another tangent. But Dungeons and Dragons, boom, money maker. You read fantasy, cool, give me your money. You know, I wasn't talking as me, I was talking as like the entertainment producers of America who were like, nerds, you're awesome, give me stuff. So, again, goes back to money. As it became more of a moneymaker, as it became more successful, then you don't really hear those jokes anymore about the guy who lives in his mom's basement and plays D&D and eats Cheetos. Like, to me, I'm like, is he single? You know, it's kind of left that divide. And the final part of the question, which I've already forgotten, what is the psychology? Okay, that part I can't 100% speak to from my own experience. Other than what I was saying about Katniss, it's a character I strongly identify with, and I felt empowered to dress up as her and be seen as this, you know, so powerful character. And I think that that's largely what it is for people. I think that they have a love of a character that transcends race and gender and age. And they want to walk in that character's shoes. They want to experience the world as that character. They want to be seen as that character. And they want to say, look, I made this, I did this. And that's a beautiful thing. So I realized that this question and this vlog don't directly have to do with the writing process or you as a writer, but it all does come back to writing because my camera ran out of room right in the middle of my nerd rage. I'm going to try to recapture the passion, which was, how does this have to do with writing? Who the heck makes all these characters up? Who tells the stories that are so entrancing that people want to embody characters, that they want to dress up as them, that they want to spend hundreds of dollars on creating these costumes and thousands of hours and learn new skills that they are possibly only ever going to use for their costuming? It's writers, it's storytellers, in all different forms and formats and mediums, and that's a beautiful thing. Like, one of my secret dreams that I'm outing right now is for one of my books, or maybe multiple of my books, to get so popular that there becomes a, what do you call it, a category on fanfiction.net for my book. Like, that would be awesome to me if my stuff was popular enough and lived in my characters and world, lived and breathed enough in other people's imaginations that they wanted to write about it too. And that it was on fanfiction.net. I think that would be amazing. That's how I'd feel like I made it as a nerd myself and as a fan fiction writer myself, because those are the things that really stick with you when you're like, I have to explore this character more. I see something in them, or this world, or the storyline and all that. So hopefully this episode was sufficiently geeky. Thank you very much for your question, Bryony, and please keep the questions coming. As you've seen, I find a way to try to tie it all into writing, and I hope you guys are well. I'm going to sign off today with a really awesome art piece that was created for me by a teenage student when I was participating at a young authors fair. Well, for a young writer, some people think I'm young. At an authors fair for teenagers who were in a summer school creative writing program. And when I came, this wonderful young artist had created this for me. I hope it's in the shot. Isn't that badass? Willow's face is kind of darkened at the top because you can't see it on the cover, but that's pretty dang cool. And that was super fun. Got to meet lots of young writers and hopefully help them the same way I try to help anyone who's watching these vlogs. Alright, again, my name's KM Rice. You can find me all over the Google. If you like this, if you're learning something, check out my Patreon. You can chuck in $1 per vlog episode. That'd be amazing. And yeah, you can also buy my books and read them if you want. And then you can read it and be like, this is the worst thing I've ever read. Why'd I listen to her? But please, after you throw it across the room, be conscientious. Remember that trees, gave up their lives for that book, and please either recycle it or use it as toilet paper or both. You might want to get the pages a little bit wet first before you use it as toilet paper. Otherwise it might not be as absorbent. But yeah. So, until next time, see ya. I hope that was terrifying for you, 'cause it was for me.